The arrivals hall of Manchester Airport was crowded with people, and the noise filled the space. However, in the midst of this hustle and bustle, one man stands quietly, his eyes determined and expectant. This man is Alex Thompson, dressed in a dark-colored trench coat, holding a bouquet of brightly colored roses, waiting for his wife Lily to return. Lily, a beautiful and elegant female doctor, has just finished a medical aid mission in Puerto Rico. Alex is filled with longing and anticipation for this reunion. He imagines Lily's surprised face when she sees the rose, and imagines that they are about to relive the sweet moments like a high school romance. However, when Lily finally appeared in his line of sight, Alex felt a trace of abnormality. Lily dragged her suitcase and walked out slowly, her face with a trace of fatigue and indifference. Upon seeing Alex, her eyes didn't have much surprise or excitement. She just smiled faintly. Alex greeted Lily warmly and handed her the rose. "Lily, you're finally back. I missed you," he said, trying to find some response in Lily's face. Lily took the rose but didn't have much to show for it. "Thanks, Alex." Her voice was a little low and she didn't sound happy. Despite noticing Lily's abnormality, Alex didn't think much of it. He thought Lily was just tired and needed to rest. So he hugged her warmly, trying to warm her with his body heat. "Let's go home and you get some rest." On the way home, Alex kept asking Lily about her experiences and feelings in Puerto Rico. However, Lily simply coped without much response. Her eyes drifted out the window from time to time, as if she was thinking about something. Alex felt a little lost and confused. He didn't understand why Lily was so indifferent to his passion, or why the distance between their hearts seemed to be getting further and further apart. But he didn't give up and still tried hard to find something to talk about, trying to close the distance between them. However, he did not show these doubts. He keeps his smile on his face and tries to touch Lily with his warmth and caring, believing that if they work together, they will be able to find the closeness and passion they once had. As the car slowly drove towards their home, Alex's heart was filled with anticipation and hope. He looked forward to Lily rediscovering that passion and love for him, and for their marriage to return to the sweet times it once was. Though he knew it would take time and effort, he was willing to do whatever it took for their future. Lily is back, but with an indescribable indifference. Alex's warm welcome at the airport is still fresh in her mind, but Lily is a different person at the moment, and her eyes lack the warmth of the past. Although Lily returns home, her return does not result in a cozy reunion as Alex expected. Instead, her behavior leaves Alex feeling a palpable sense of coldness and alienation. Upon entering the door, Lily just gave Alex a faint look without much expression. She walked silently towards the bedroom and set down her bags before sitting on the edge of the bed without saying a word. The bouquet of roses in Alex's hand looked particularly awkward at this point, and he stood in the doorway at a loss for words, feeling the coldness that hung in the air. The bouquet of roses in Alex's hand looked particularly awkward at this point. When they had dinner that night, Lily simply ate a few bites and put her chopsticks down. Alex tried to find something to talk about, but Lily always responded in monosyllables and didn't want to talk about much of anything. The intimacy between them seems to have disappeared overnight, and Lily's reaction to Alex's intimacy is muted, if not indifferent. Over the next few days, Lily maintained this attitude, rarely making eye contact with Alex and always staying alone in her bedroom as if she had something on her mind. She rarely made eye contact with Alex and always stayed alone in her bedroom, as if she had something on her mind. Alex tried several times to approach her to find out what she was thinking and feeling, but Lily dismissed it with an "I'm fine." Alex feels confused and lost. He doesn't understand why Lily has become so cold and doesn't know how to go about salvaging their relationship. He begins to wonder if Lily has encountered something on the outside or has something difficult to talk about. But whenever he tries to probe, Lily always avoids talking about it, making it impossible for him to learn the truth. He began to think back to the moment they had reunited at the airport. Had the fatigue and indifference on Lily's face foreshadowed it all? He couldn't help but begin to wonder if there was something wrong with him that made Lily so reluctant to interact with him. Alex tries all sorts of things to break the deadlock. He meticulously prepares dinner, hoping to bring each other closer at the table. He proposes to go out for a walk together, hoping to relive the old intimacy in a relaxed atmosphere. However, all these efforts seem to be in vain, and Lily's heart wall seems to be getting thicker and thicker. Every late night, Alex would lie in bed tossing and turning, thinking about what had gone wrong in their relationship. He reminisced about the sweet days of high school, when they talked about everything and their hearts were connected to each other. Now, it was like their hearts were separated by an insurmountable chasm. This sudden indifference and estrangement made Alex feel immense pain. He looked at Lily's back and was filled with helplessness and confusion. He didn't know what had gone wrong with their marriage, nor did he know how to face and solve it. He can only bear this pain and confusion silently, hoping that one day Lily can open her heart and face all this with him. For several days after Lily's return home, an indescribable coldness hung over the atmosphere of the house. Despite Alex's efforts to maintain outward calm, confusion and doubt grew like weeds in his mind. On a weekend afternoon, the sunlight pours softly through the curtains and creates dappled shadows on the floor of the bedroom, where Lily is busily unpacking the bags she just brought back from Puerto Rico, while Alex sits on the leather sofa in the study, a pen in his hand, but his eyes drift in the direction of the bedroom from time to time. Despite his attempts to concentrate on the work papers at hand, the sound of Lily's rummaging in the bedroom continued to hammer at his heartstrings. He couldn't help but wonder what Lily had brought back from her trip and if there was a surprise for him. The turmoil in his mind drove Alex to put down the pen in his hand as he stood up and walked gingerly towards the bedroom. The door was ajar, and through the crack, he saw Lily with her back to him, concentrating on organizing her clothes. Suddenly, his eyes were attracted by a piece of red lace underwear in Lily's hand. The color of that lingerie was as bright as fire. The style was new and sexy, obviously not Lily's usual style. An inexplicable wave of unease and suspicion welled up in Alex's mind. Where had this underwear come from? Could it be a special gift from Lily for him? Or was it? He didn't dare to think about it, but he couldn't contain the doubt in his mind. He watched quietly for a moment, then quietly retreated to the study. Sitting on the couch, his mind was full of shadows of the red lace lingerie. He began to recall all the details of Lily's trip and the subtle changes she'd undergone since her return. Suspicions grew like weeds in his mind, but he tried to keep his composure and not let himself fall into unwarranted suspicion. In the following days, Alex still lives with Lily as usual on the surface. But every time Lily left his sight, the doubts in his mind would be rekindled. He began to pay more attention to Lily's every move, paying attention to her cell phone usage, but he never found any solid evidence to prove his suspicions. However, the red lace lingerie was like a thorn in his heart that he couldn't let go of. He knew he couldn't go on like this, but he was afraid that questioning Lily directly would destroy their relationship. Therefore, he chose to remain silent and observe secretly. Whenever it was late at night, Alex would sit alone in his study and think about how to confront this problem. He knew that his suspicions were probably unwarranted, but he couldn't shake that uneasiness and doubt. He began to reflect on his own behavior, whether he was being overly sensitive and paranoid, and whether he should trust Lily's feelings for him. But every time that thought arose, the shadow of that red lace lingerie would surface in his mind again, leaving him in an endless state of entanglement and contradiction. This inner struggle and torment was exhausting for Alex. He began to realize that he needed to find a way to dissolve the doubts in his mind, or else the emotions would continue to eat away at their marital relationship. However, he has yet to find the right way to do so, and can only continue to hide his inner trepidation and suspicion, maintaining superficial harmony and intimacy with Lily. He knew that this was not a long-term solution, but he was afraid to face the possible consequences. As a result, he was caught in a dilemma, not knowing what to choose. The cause of all this is the red lace lingerie that came out of nowhere. It's like a hidden spark that could ignite the anger and doubt in Alex's heart at any time, pushing their otherwise peaceful life into an unknown abyss. Despite Lily's return home, the atmosphere in the house is very different from the past, and the doubts in Alex's mind are like hidden currents, silently eroding the harmonious relationship between them. Ever since he accidentally found the red lace lingerie in Lily's luggage, a seed of doubt has been planted in his heart. The red lace lingerie is bold and flamboyant, a far cry from Lily's usual conservative style. This discovery makes Alex can't help but begin to wonder if Lily has another man on the outside, and if she has already begun an unknown relationship. This suspicion is like a thorn, deeply rooted in his heart, keeping him awake at night. Despite his attempts to remain calm and maintain outward harmony, doubts grew wildly in his mind like weeds. He begins to notice a subtle change in Lily's attitude toward him. She no longer cares about his feelings and needs as much as she used to, and conversations have become perfunctory and superficial. Whenever he tried to delve into her thoughts, she always seemed distracted, as if something was bothering her. This change frustrates Alex like never before. He begins to wonder if Lily's indifference to him is related to her possible cheating behavior. To find out the truth, he decides to secretly investigate Lily's whereabouts and interactions. He starts paying more attention to Lily's every move, noting every message and call on her cell phone. He even started following her itinerary, trying to find out if she was showing signs of secret dating. His behavior is getting closer and closer to insanity, but the doubts and reluctance inside are like a fire that burns his sanity. However, the investigation doesn't bring him a clear answer. Lily's whereabouts don't seem to be unusual, and no suspicious communication records are found on her cell phone. But Alex is still not satisfied. He decides to continue to investigate deeply and must find out the real reason why Lily is indifferent to him. He began to think back to bits and pieces of their past, trying to find clues in it. He remembers what Lily once said to him, her expectations and disappointments in him. He began to reflect on his behavior, whether he hadn't done enough in some way to make Lily lose interest in him. However, this self-doubt did not bring him answers. He knew that a more direct approach was necessary to find out the truth. So Alex began to observe Lily's detailed behavior on a daily basis, ready to wait for the opportunity to discover the real reason why Lily had become apathetic. Over the next few days, Alex was like a different person. He becomes more silent and spends his days immersed in his own world. He begins to plan how to expose Lily's betrayal and decides to take action to defend his dignity and rights. What he doesn't realize, however, is that this decision will have far-reaching consequences for their marriage and their lives. A war of trust, betrayal, and revenge is about to start between them. Doubts about Boston loom large in Alex's mind, and Lily's trip leaves him unsettled. When she tells him she'll be traveling to Boston for a medical conference, he catches a whiff of something unusual. To confirm his inner suspicions, Alex decides to secretly follow Lily. On the day Lily leaves home, Alex leaves work early, and with an almost unbelievable perseverance, he follows Lily to Boston. His heart is full of contradictions and struggles. On the one hand, he doesn't want his suspicions to come true, and on the other, he longs to uncover the truth. The crowd outside the convention center in Boston was packed, but Alex's heart felt like it had sunk into a frozen lake, cold to the bone. He stood in an unassuming corner, his eyes locked on the doors of the convention center, waiting for Lily to appear. Lily is traveling to Boston for a medical conference, but doubts are growing like weeds in Alex's mind. Recently, he has noticed his wife's growing distance from him, and the coldness and strangeness makes him feel deeply uneasy. So he decides to secretly follow Lily, hoping to find the reason for her change in attitude. As the minutes ticked by, Alex's heart grew heavier and heavier. He was afraid that his suspicions would come true, that the woman he had always loved would really betray him. But at the same time, he expects Lily to give him a reasonable explanation so that the big stone in his heart will fall to the ground. Finally, Lily's figure appeared at the entrance of the conference center. She was dressed in a professional outfit and still looked elegant and competent. However, Alex's heart sank when he saw her talking enthusiastically with a tall and handsome man beside her. The man was no stranger to him, none other than Daniel Stone. Alex had overheard Lily chatting with him at home and hadn't thought much of it at the time, but now it seemed that all was not lost. Alex stared intently at Lily and Daniel, trying to look for clues in their interaction. He saw Lily smiling brightly, a smile he hadn't seen in a long time. Daniel, on the other hand, looked at Lily with deep affection, as if they had an unknown secret between them. However, as much as Alex's heart is filled with suspicion and unease, he is also well aware that there is no hard evidence of Lily's betrayal at this point. He needs more clues, more evidence to support his suspicions. Therefore, Alex decided to stay put for the time being and continue to secretly observe Lily and Daniel's moves. He intended to look for a suitable time to gather enough evidence before having a showdown with Lily. In the process, he needs to stay calm and rational and not let his emotions overwhelm him. Alex took a deep breath and turned to leave the Boston Convention Center. He knew that the defense of this marriage was just beginning, and he had to be fully prepared to face the outcome that could break his heart. Unintentional discoveries can sometimes reveal the truth of a matter better than a deliberate search. Just when Alex is skeptical but struggling for evidence, fate seems to push the truth in front of him in a dramatic way. It's nighttime in Boston, neon lights are flashing, and the streets are filled with pedestrians. In order to calm his irritable mood, Alex walked into a lively bar. The atmosphere of the place made him forget his worries for a while. He sat down at the bar and ordered a strong drink, trying to anesthetize his thoughts with alcohol. However, just as he was drinking alone, a conversation between two men in the seat next to him caught his attention. Their voices were not loud, but Alex could hear them unusually well in this noisy bar. "Did you hear about Lily and that Daniel Stone?" one of the men said mysteriously. Alex's heart snapped, and he pricked up his ears for fear of missing a word. "You mean Lily, the woman doctor in Puerto Rico?" the other man asked curiously. "Yeah, that's her. She and Daniel got together when they were in Puerto Rico. I heard they stayed in touch when they got back to Manchester." Hearing this, Alex felt like his heart had been slammed with a hammer. He tried to keep his composure as he continued to listen. "Really? How come I haven't heard about it? Who would make a big deal out of something like that? But I saw them sticking together in Puerto Rico, and Daniel divorced his wife over her." Alex feels like his world is falling apart in an instant. His long-held suspicions are confirmed in this moment, and the truth is far more brutal than he could have imagined. Not only has Lily betrayed him, but she's also entangled with a married man. His hands trembled as he picked up the glass and drained the spirits in one gulp. The stimulation of the alcohol made his emotions more complicated. Anger, disappointment, and sadness intertwined together, almost suffocating him. Alex decided that he was going to face this personally. He stood up and walked out of the bar with a plan in mind. He was going to find Lily and Daniel and make them pay for their betrayal. However, as he walked down the street, the cold wind blowing against his face, he suddenly realized that he wasn't going to be able to act so impulsively. He needed to calm down and think about where to go next. Alex took a deep breath and looked up into the star-studded night sky. He knew that this night would be a turning point in his life. He had to make a choice, whether to continue to sink into the pain of his betrayal or to pick himself up and start a new life. In this silent night, Alex's mind was filled with struggle and confusion. But he knew that no matter what, he had to face this cruel reality and find his own way out. The conversation between the two strange men in the bar is still fresh in Alex's mind. What they were discussing under their breath was none other than his wife Lily's affair with another man, Daniel. Those detailed descriptions seemed like a sharp knife that stabbed deep into Alex's heart. He remembered his romantic love with Lily from high school. Those green and beautiful times seemed like yesterday. They had vowed to stick together for the rest of their lives, regardless of poverty or wealth, health or sickness. However, the reality gave Alex a loud slap in the face and made him realize the fragility and vulnerability of the vow. Facing betrayal head-on is a test of the soul for anyone. For Alex, the pain he suffered at this moment was even harder to describe. All the suspicions and guesses he had experienced before this were just shadows in his mind, and now the shadows were about to be confirmed by the harsh reality. It was a chilly winter day in Boston. Alex hid in a hidden corner outside the convention center, his eyes glued to the entrance. His heartbeat gradually accelerated, that mixture of anticipation and fear weaving through him. How he hoped that his suspicions were wrong, and how he hoped that the gossip in the bar was also false, that Lily's change of heart was simply due to exhaustion from work, or something else that could be explained. However, his last glimmer of hope was dashed when the figures of Lily and Daniel appeared in his line of sight. The two of them walked side by side, their demeanor revealing an unspoken closeness. Daniel's hand rested gently on Lily's waist while Lily smiled and tilted her head as she talked to him as if everything around them was none of their business. This scene was undoubtedly a bolt from the blue for Alex. His hands were clenched into fists and his nails were deeply embedded in his palms. But the pain in his heart far exceeded the physical sensation. He felt like his heart was being torn apart, and the pain could not be described in words. Lily and Daniel walked into the convention center, while Alex remained standing as if frozen in place. He didn't know how he had moved to the back door of the convention center, only remembering the intimate images of Lily and Daniel echoing in his mind along the way. His mind was filled with anger, disappointment, and sadness, a mix of emotions that almost made him lose his mind. The back door was in a relatively secluded location, and Alex hid behind a large tree, waiting in silence. He wasn't sure exactly what he was waiting for, perhaps for Lily's explanation, or perhaps for a miracle to happen. However, he knew in his heart of hearts that whatever the outcome, the relationship between him and Lily was irreparable. Alex's heart sank completely when Lily and Daniel reappeared in his sight. The two of them were walking hand in hand with happy smiles on their faces. Daniel was whispering in Lily's ear while Lily smiled even more brightly. At this moment, Alex finally realized that Lily had completely betrayed him and their marriage. He took out his cell phone and turned on the camera function. The camera was aimed at the pair of lovers who were immersed in sweetness. Every photo, every video was like a sharp knife piercing deeply into his heart. But he didn't stop until the memory of his cell phone was full, until Lily and Daniel's figures disappeared from sight. The photos and videos became hard evidence of Lily's infidelity. Although this evidence made his heart bleed, he was unusually calm to save everything. He knew that this evidence would completely end his marriage with Lily, but he didn't have the slightest hesitation or reluctance. Because he understands one thing. Fidelity is the cornerstone of marriage, and Lily has betrayed their vows and promises. As night fell and the wind became more bitter, Alex left Boston and returned to his home in Manchester. He sat on the couch and reviewed the evidence on his cell phone over and over again, his heart filled with bitterness and disappointment. But he knew he had to face the harsh reality and make the right decision. The final confrontation is brutal for any couple, especially when one of them has hard evidence of betrayal by the other. The confrontation is full of fireworks and irreparable sadness. Alex sat in his dimly lit living room, the screen of his cell phone in his hand glowing with an eerie, cold light that clearly showed a picture of Lily and Daniel kissing outside the Boston Convention Center. His heart was bleeding, but he was surprisingly calm. He knew that the marriage had come to an end, and all he needed was a confirmation, one that came from Lily herself. The door clicked open and Lily dragged her tired body in. A flash of surprise flashed across her face as she saw Alex sitting on the couch, but she quickly regained her composure. Alex didn't say anything, just stared silently into Lily's eyes. He saw the avoidance and uneasiness in her eyes, which reinforced the judgment in his mind. He took a deep breath, then slowly opened his cell phone album and showed the screen to Lily. Lily's face instantly turned pale as she stared at the photo on the screen with wide, unbelievable eyes. Her lips trembled slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but she couldn't utter a single word. "What is it?" Alex's voice was cold and firm. "You need to give me an explanation." Lily was silent for a moment, then slowly lowered her head. She knew that she couldn't hide it any longer. She took a deep breath, then looked up at Alex with tears glistening in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Alex." Lily's voice trembled. I'm with Daniel. Back in Puerto Rico, we fell in love." Hearing Lily's confession, a wave of bitterness welled up in Alex's heart. Although he had expected this outcome, hearing Lily admit her betrayal in person was still too much for him to accept. "Why?" Alex's voice was a little hoarse. "We used to love each other so much. Why are you doing this to me?" Lily closed her eyes, tears slipping from the corners of her eyes. She knew that she couldn't give Alex a satisfactory answer, because emotional things were never something that could be explained by reason. Her meeting with Daniel was like an unpredictable encounter. In a foreign country, they comforted each other's lonely hearts, and then unknowingly fell into the whirlpool of emotions. "I'm sorry, Alex." Lily apologized again. "I know it's unfair to you, but I can't help my feelings. I, I really love Daniel." Hearing Lily's words, Alex felt a pang of heartache. He knew that the marriage was beyond repair. He slowly stood up and walked over to the window, looking out at the night sky. The starry lights twinkled in the darkness, as complex and confusing as his mood at the moment. "Let's get a divorce." Alex's voice was calm and firm. "Now that you've made your choice, it's time for me to let go." Lily didn't say anything, just nodded silently. She knew that this was the punishment she deserved. She had betrayed her husband who once loved her dearly, as well as her own vows and promises. Now, she could only silently accept this cruel reality. There was no arguing or blaming in this final confrontation, only silence and acceptance. Two people who once loved each other, at this moment completely went to strangers. Their marriage, like a bright star, eventually fell in the endless darkness after crossing a dazzling arc in the sky. When both Alex and Lily agreed to a divorce, Alex contacted one of the most reputable divorce attorneys in the area to go over the divorce process in detail. The attorney's words were calm and professional, clearing a path to freedom for Alex. Although heartache still followed him, Alex knew that this was the path he had to take. He no longer wanted to live in a world woven with lies. As the divorce proceedings begin, Alex begins to organize his thoughts and his life. He looks for a new apartment, clean and modern, free of Lily's traces, which will be the starting point of his new life. Every corner of the new apartment is full of possibilities, just like his future life. He starts trying to recover from Lily's betrayal. It's not easy. Lily's shadow always creeps up whenever it's late at night, and those sweet memories are like sharp edges, stabbing his heart over and over again. But he understood that dwelling on the past would only cause him more pain. So he chose to face it, chose to accept it, and then chose to put it down. Looking for a new direction in life, Alex threw himself into work and new hobbies. He began to learn photography, capturing the beautiful moments of life through his lens. Every time he pressed the shutter, it was as if he was able to catch the tail end of time and freeze those beautiful, moving, ordinary yet unique moments into eternity. These photos became his healing medicine and made him re-examine the meaning of life. The job also gave Alex new goals and motivation. He realized that he had a strong interest in project management and started to learn about it systematically. With the success of the project, his self-confidence was gradually restored. He realized that he not only had the ability to get out of his emotional haze, but also to break into a world of his own in the workplace. In addition to his work and hobbies, Alex began accepting invitations from friends and slowly reopening his heart. He started attending various social events, making new friends and hearing many different stories and life experiences. These experiences taught him that everyone has their own hurts and struggles, but life always gives us the chance to start over. In the process, Alex has also kept an open mind about future relationships. He is no longer in a hurry to find a new partner, but is willing to let things take their course. He knows that when he is truly ready, the right person will come along. The divorce proceedings are going well, and Lily is not asking for too much because of her betrayal. Alex is ready for a new life. He knows what he wants and is willing to work hard for it. Whenever he encounters difficulties and setbacks, he remembers the self that waited for Lily at the airport, the self that was full of expectations for love. Although love is far away, he still believes in the beauty of life and the possibilities of the future. Eventually, Alex and Lily reached a divorce settlement. As they signed the papers in court, Alex felt a sense of relief. He was no longer the man trapped in the prison of his marriage, but a free man starting a new life. He took a deep breath as if 1,000 pounds had been lifted. He knew that his future was full of endless possibilities. Although Alex was emotionally devastated, he knew that dwelling on the past would only serve to stagnate him. So, after a difficult time, he resolves to make a fresh start and move forward to find a new life and happiness. Alex put all his energy into his work and realized that he had a unique talent for project management. He began to take the initiative to take on more responsibility and participate in more complex and challenging projects. Whenever he succeeded in driving a project to completion, he felt a sense of fulfillment that he had never felt before. This sense of fulfillment allowed him to gradually regain his self-confidence and find a new value and meaning in his work. In addition to his work, Alex started to try some new hobbies. He enrolled in a photography course to learn how to capture the beautiful moments in life with his lens. He found that photography not only helps him record the moments of his life, but also allows him to feel a sense of serenity and calmness in the process. Whenever he picks up a camera, he can forget his past hurts for a while and devote himself to his creation. Over time, Alex also slowly began to reopen his heart. He began accepting invitations from friends and attending various social events. At first, he was a bit formal and uncomfortable, but over time he gradually learned how to interact with others and how to share his stories and feelings. In these activities, he made many new friends and heard many different stories and life experiences. These experiences have made him appreciate his present life even more and made him look forward to the future. In the process, Alex has also kept an open mind about future relationships. He is no longer in a hurry to find a new partner, but is willing to let things take their course. He knows that he needs time to heal the wounds of the past and to understand his true needs and expectations. When he meets the right person, he will bravely take the first step to pursue his own happiness. However, life doesn't always go smoothly. As Alex struggled to rebuild his life, he encountered some difficulties and challenges. He encountered strong competitors at work, which hindered the progress of his projects. He encountered technical difficulties in his photography courses, and his work never achieved the results he expected. However, Alex did not give up. He firmly believes that as long as he keeps working hard, he will be able to overcome these difficulties and realize his dream. In the process, Alex also learns how to deal with his emotions. Instead of running away from his past hurt, he chose to face it head-on and accept it. He began to reflect on his problems in the marriage, and he realized that he also had the responsibility to improve and maintain that relationship. This reflection makes him more mature and rational to face his future love life. Eventually, after all the ups and downs, Alex finally found a new life for himself. He has achieved great success in his work, and his photography has been widely recognized and praised. More importantly, he has regained his confidence and happiness. He knows that there is still a long and difficult road ahead, but he also believes that he is capable of facing and overcoming all challenges. Alex stood on the balcony of his new apartment, looking out over the city of Manchester in the distance with a sense of gratitude and anticipation, knowing that this was the beginning of a new life for him and the start of many more possibilities for the future.